Welcome to our Sunday service. Great to have everyone here. You know, we are continuing our series on, what's our theme for the year?
Hashtag love out loud.
Hashtag love LOL, right?
LOL.
Love out loud instead of laugh out loud. It is from the passage in 1 John 3:18. Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions. And so I hope you're working on that for this whole year so far. That we talked about a little practice. You remember what that practice was called by that nun, the Carmelite nun? It was called the little way, right? That doing little types of actions in your daily life can make a huge difference. Now, here's my question for you: have you ever been so exhausted in life that it's difficult to care for people? Yes. Have you ever been exhausted? You might be exhausted now. I mean, it's March already, right? It seems like it just started then in January, and now we're already in March. This is going to be an expensive summer for me, as my oldest is graduating from nursing school in August. My middle one is graduating. She's in her senior year, and this will be her last. She's graduating in the summer, but she has one more year of soccer to play. Okay, actually one more season of soccer to play.
Right.
And she's just been recovering from a 13-month ACL injury. And yesterday was her first game back playing. So it was a big deal for our family, okay? And she's exhausted already because she's been out of shape for the last 13 months. So she's like this right now. I'm sure she was like this morning. I put money it was difficult for her to get to church this morning after yesterday's game, okay? Because she hasn't run like that in 13 months. And so then my son is graduating from high school. And his biggest decision in his life is going to be where he's going to college next, I'm pretty sure he's going to be going to San Diego. I'm almost positive he is. He might surprise me, though. He might end up in Hawaii at University of Hawaii, where we're from, right? But either one is great. I think he's going to do great. But if you've ever been exhausted before, it's so difficult to get. That's what the challenge in the church is often. If you've been around a long time in the church, our church is known in circles outside of just our ICOC fellowship. In those circles, people know our fellowship as workhorses. People work hard. They're involved in ministry. They're involved in people's lives, and it's a challenge for us to slow down, actually. So I appreciate Lily's passage here about Psalm 46:10, which is be still and know that I am God, right?
Amen.
I think I'm at a level of exhaustion now as I look at my first 8 months, of my own health challenges and my grandma passing away, my mom passing away, and then just recently I found my stepdad, he definitely has cancer. And we just found it out this past week. I'm going to be heading to Hawaii this upcoming week, most likely. We're kind of working that out right now. But, man, it just feels like, I feel like I haven't even caught my breath yet, And isn't life like that, though?
Yeah.
And so if you've ever felt exhausted in your life, hey, you're in good company in the people in this room right here. A lot of us are trying to recover right now, from this past year. Those of us who are doing great, awesome, keep doing great. Okay, I want to do a lesson today that I hope will encourage us in the midst of our challenges, in the midst of busy lives. Because I know all of you have busy lives. I'm not the only one that has a busy life, right? I'm sure you have a busy life. In Matthew chapter 9, in verse 35 to 38, this is our text today. Jesus traveled throughout all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them.
Come on.
Because they were confused and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields. And so my lesson today is about Jesus and the crowds, okay? Jesus and the crowds. And we're going to be talking about a component of loving out loud, which is about compassion. Learning to have compassion in the midst of a busy life. Because that's the challenge. I used to think, when I was younger, man, there's going to be a time, I think, when I get older where everything's going to kind of, like I'm going to have more time to myself. I don't know. I'm 55, man. That hasn't happened yet, For some reason, I thought, as I get older, somehow my life's going to get easier, and I'm going to have way more time now. Maybe after my kids get out of, after they get out of my house, my last one leaves my house, and Grace and I are together. Maybe it's going to be, maybe it's going to wind down a bit. Any empty nesters in here? Any empty nesters? Yeah? Does it wind down a bit?
No.
Okay, look. Sometimes. So they come back. We hope they come back. Somebody said over here, empty nester, does it get slower in your life? I gotta be honest, when I come to Temecula, compared to where I live in LA, it feels a lot slower over here. For me. When I walk, as soon as I get on the plane on Hawaiian Airlines, it feels slower when I get on the plane in Hawaiian Airlines. And when I get to the airport in Honolulu, it feels 10 paces slower than here. If I go to Kauai, it's like 20 paces slower. In Kauai, all the stores close at like 8 o'clock at night. That's awesome. You're right. That is awesome. It sounds so peaceful, right? When I was younger, that didn't seem good, though. That seemed like, that's crazy. How are you going to make money if you close that early? So here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about 1 point and 4 practicals for us. About compassion, okay? Now, Jesus can relate. He lived a busy life. One of the things in our fellowship is in the ICOC, when I went back to grad school, one of the criticisms about ICOC is because a lot of the ministers didn't get theological training and going to like seminary or things like that, getting their masters and stuff. When I went to grad school and finished with my masters, man, my whole world opened up about how I look at the Bible. And so sometimes in our fellowship, we're really good at looking at a passage, breaking down a passage, telling you the history of the passage, the context of the passage, the Greek, perhaps the Hebrew of it, and all the goodies that go with that, right? But sometimes we haven't been taught how to read the Bible and read it in terms of a story. Does that make sense? So we get stuck in a passage, not looking at everything that comes before it and everything that went after it, and perhaps the chapters before that too, that gives you a bigger picture of what's being talked about right there. And so if you just look at Matthew 9, 35 to 38, you go, wow, Jesus was like, he went to all the towns and villages and then he healed every disease, right? But look what happened prior to that, okay? This is what he did in his life in the same chapter. He healed a paralyzed man in verse 1. Then he ended up calling Matthew, right? A tax collector to follow him. Then Pharisees questioned him about, why do your disciples fast? He had to answer all these questions, kind of like he was being interrogated almost by the Pharisees. Then he goes and raises a dead girl and heals a sick woman. He finds time to heal 2 blind men and a person who was mute, who was demon possessed. And then he went to all the towns and villages and went to the synagogues. Does that change how you read that story now? If you just read it, like, Jesus went to all the towns and synagogues and he healed some people like that. But that's after he did all this other stuff. Isn't that how our lives are? Like when you come to church at midweek, are you like fresh when you come to church at midweek? Some of you might be. If I'm at midweek, I just drove an hour and a half to get here, to get to midweek, right? After what I'm doing in my day. I'm not complaining about it. It's just my life, right? And that's what that's where I'm at in my life right now. But think about that. So here's a question I want to ask you when you're tired. What are you like when you're tired? When I'm tired and somebody calls me, I will not pick it up. I'm just being honest. I'll try to be like Jesus. I'll try. But if I'm super tired, I'm like, you know what? Jay's calling me right now. Jay, go with God, brother. Go with God. God will help you out in that. If I'm down, if I'm discouraged and when John calls me, yeah, I'm not calling him back at that moment, you know. You didn't get a minister that goes to God and then figures it out and hopefully I'm being spiritual. I'm not sometimes, right? I'd like to be, but sometimes I'm not. And so think about that, okay? So if I ask all of us this, you had a busy, how many of you raise your hand if you had a busy couple months here from January to now? Okay, great. Lily, since you're smiling and like seeing your face right now. If you got to pick a place, a vacation place for all of us to go next week,
Let's go.
paid, 100% paid by the church in Temecula,
Oh, in Temecula.
where would we go? It could be anywhere in the world.
Temecula's paying for it.
Temecula is paying for it.
I'm just gonna keep it basic. The Oregon coast.
Oregon coast, okay? Who would go with us? Raise your hand. Okay, great. Let's say, oh, okay. What did you say, Tracy?
I would go to Hawaii.
Tracy, you go to Hawaii, not the Oregon coast? Nope, you want Hawaii. Okay, a little bit further west there. You want some blue ocean like that, clear water, if you will. Okay, but let's say you go to the destination of your choice, okay? You get to go, the church is paying for it, right? And when you get there, you are fired up, man. If we leave by 6 o'clock tomorrow, you think any of you will be late? No? Some of you might be a little late. If I said, listen, if you arrive at 6:01, we're not paying for your trip. All right? I'm pretty sure we'd have 100% attendance here. Everybody would be early, right? Right? Okay, so you're there. You're singing church songs on the way, man. You're on the plane. You got your suitcase. You are on the way to your destination, right? And when you get there, the minute you get off the plane, there's 5,000 people waiting for you because they heard that you were coming.
Oh, wow.
And they have all these needs. They want to get with the Cobras. They heard the Coles are coming. They're going to help. The Lagardis are coming. We're their destination. Where do you guys choose to go? Where? There we go. I don't even know where that is. Where is that? Bahamas. Okay. So you get there and you see 5,000 people waiting for you. What's your first reaction?
Honestly, I'll be like, oh no, this is not a vacation.
Okay, Aaron, that's so spiritual, bro. Give him a hug, right? Jay's like, honestly. Imagine, right?
Yeah.
You were promised a vacation, though. I promised you a vacation. The church is paying for it all. And you get there, but they found out that everybody knew that you're coming, bro. And that you're there to help them now spiritually with all the needs that they have. But I told you were going on a vacation.
Right. I was deceived.
How do you feel about me?
I don't feel, my mom
I don't know, you might not have some love. See that love you have? You probably throw that love button off your chest right there, right? So imagine Jesus going through something like that, right? After his whole day, then he went to all these towns. And when he saw the people, they were harassed and confused.
compassion.
And what was his response? And compassion. That's different. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because in the church, it's easy to get compassion fatigue. Do you know what compassion fatigue is?
No.
Compassion fatigue is similar to burnout, where because you care so much and you're so involved with things, you forget to kind of take care of yourself. And so because you don't take care of yourself, you're kind of burnt out now, right? So you lack compassion. So this is how you know you have compassion fatigue. If me as an evangelist in the church or a minister in the church, if you see me coming up to want to talk to and you immediately think that the reason why I'm talking to you is because I want you to serve somehow in the church, you probably have compassion fatigue. If that's the reason why you think I'm coming. Does that make sense? Like, not like, oh, Reese wants to come and hug me and say hi. If you're looking at me and you walk the other way because I think he's going to ask me to do something in the church, then you probably got compassion fatigue right there. Yeah. Compassion fatigue comes because you care so much and that you're giving, but then you're not refilled yourself. You cannot give what you do not have. And so if you don't have faith and get refreshed with faith, you can't give faith away. If you're giving, and you're kind of operating from a deficit, you're going to get compassion fatigue like that. And so the end result is what you love doing, you end up hating doing. And because it ends up hurting you in the process. Now, this word, the Greek word, try and pronounce that word. Splanchnizomai. Say that. And what compassion means is that this Greek word means you're moved deep within the bowels or gut to the point of taking action. Okay? So you're moved so much within your bowel or your gut that you have to do something in it. That's what compassion is defined in the Greek, and why Jesus is so good at it, especially when he's tired. Because he can reach for that emotion. He can reach for that spiritual nugget of truth there. And that's when it's required. It is when you're tired often, okay? Now, let me give you an example of what it feels like to have compassion. You ready for this?
Okay.
This is my good friend here. Her name is Ruth Slaughter. Those of you who have done any kind of work within domestic violence, she is the first woman in Los Angeles to start a women's shelter in all of Los Angeles. She is the first one who started it in the 70s. She's received many awards in the domestic violence space for the work and the contributions that she's a pioneer in this field. Anybody who's been in domestic violence, especially with women and children, would know who this lady is. And she's a disciple in the LA church. And I'm close to her, I've worked with her for many, many years. The NFL awarded her Super Bowl tickets for the work that she did. I know, she was at the Super Bowl, gang. She was living it up and having a great time. This picture that we took of her, this was at her birthday party. Okay? Yeah. And I believe at that time she was in her 80s. Okay? She's like early 80s, 82 maybe.
Wow.
This is the first birthday party she's ever had.
Wow.
Say that again. What did you just say?
That's a recent picture of her? Wow.
She's never had a birthday. That's what compassion feels like. It's hard to even fathom that, right? But many people in the world are like this. It's just whether or not we're present enough to hear it, ask questions, get involved. Her family has never thrown her one. Disciples in the church threw her one. And while we threw her one, we were wrecked to know. Because she shared it. After we threw it, and it was a surprise birthday party for her. We did it up for her. It was such a great surprise. We got her so good. I lied to her, guys, to get her to be at this thing. I had to lie out of my teeth to get her here, right? And amen, she forgave me, and I was like, look, I'm trying to do something good for God here in this, right? We had a birthday party, but we did not know this. And when we threw this birthday party, all her friends were at it, her family were at it, she started totally, we were like, surprise! And she just started crying like that. We're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? How come you're crying? It's because I've never had a birthday party before. And then we all started crying in it. That's what compassion feels like, though. Is that you can actually feel for that person, right? You're feeling with that person, okay? There's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is where you learn how to feel for people. You feel for people. Empathy is where you have feeling with people. That you put yourself in their shoes. You can see it from their eyes. You kind of get into their body, if you will, and you experience it the way they experience it. That's what empathy said. Barack Obama, and by the way, guys, this is not a political statement that I'm making here, okay? So I want to be clear on this before I say this. I found this this quote that he had that just moved my heart about empathy. So I'm talking about empathy, right? Nothing other than empathy. The biggest deficit that we have in our society and in the world right now is an empathy deficit. We're in great need of people being able to stand in somebody else's shoes and see the world through their eyes.
Amen.
That's what empathy is, and that's what made Jesus so good. And so here's my point today. Compassion is about not just feeling, it's about feeling enough to act. So if you don't act, it's not compassion. It's you giving sympathy. Does that make sense? And so the point I want to make, I just want to make one point, okay, and then we're going to talk about some practicals, is Jesus felt enough to act. And so it's important that we get involved in people's lives so that we can actually express compassion, right? Compassion is a little bit like faith. Faith isn't just believing, right? It's believing enough to act. That's what faith is. So if you have belief, it doesn't mean you have faith. It means you have belief. If you have faith, it's belief completed by action. So it requires action if you're faithful about something. Amen?
Amen.
And so let's close with 4 practicals here. The first one is be aware that there are people around you suffering. Be aware of it. If you at work, I guarantee at your work, there are people who are suffering at work. Guarantee. You know, totally.
Yeah.
My stepdad, who's in the hospital right now, you know, we've been trying to, my sister-in-law has visited him, and because my brother lives in San Francisco and I live in LA, you know, the whole idea was we're trying to figure out how do we take care of my stepdad from afar, and so I have to rely on other people in Hawaii, right? And we're trying to figure out but the thing is, be aware, you know, be aware of what's going on around you and the needs that are around you, because there are many needs around us, amen?
Amen.
And I'm lucky that I have some friends that are in Hawaii that are, my auntie went to go cheer up my stepdad yesterday, and the first thing she said is, wow, your stepdad can talk. He's Irish, yes. James Brown, right? His name is James Brown. He can talk, you know? Like, I felt like when my auntie texted me, I felt her exhaustion in the text. Does that make sense? I literally felt like, wow, she sounds exhausted. There's no words she's telling me, it's through the text. That's literally what she said. Wow, your stepdad can talk. He talked the whole hour. I didn't say a thing, and I go, it's awesome. Later on, my stepdad called my sister-in-law and said, wow, that was the most inspiring talk that he's had in a long time. And part of the reason why it was inspiring, and part of the reason why I sent my auntie to go talk to him, is because she's lived with cancer for 13 years. She's had breast cancer. Her mom passed away from breast cancer, but she's been having to deal with cancer treatments and learning how to live with cancer. And so when she went to go talk to him, that's what they were talking about. I didn't tell her to talk to him about that. I just tell her, hey, you know, if you can encourage Gramps, that'd be great. You know, my kids call him Grandpa James, right? And so she went, and then it was awesome, you know, to be able to do that. But be aware of the needs around you. The second thing is be present and listen to people. People just need to be listened to. The third thing is be curious and ask questions. Like if you see somebody sad, don't just walk the other way. Ask, are you okay? You know what I mean? Yeah, don't walk away. But if you have to walk away because you're in that season of your life right now where you need some rest, great. Understandable, right? I'm not saying burn out. I'm saying if you have to discern and decide what is important to you and what you have to do that. But be curious and ask questions so we can get involved in people's lives. The last thing you can do is be kind. These are 4 practicals that you can do. Be aware, be present, be curious, and be kind. Amen? You can make a huge difference in somebody's life if we're just present and we just ask questions and listen and not even talk. We don't even have to talk sometimes. And I want to close with this illustration. When I went home from my mom's funeral, right? I'm the one who officiated her memorial service and funeral. And I was working out on the 4th floor of my mom's complex, you know, the parking structure. And I kind of go between the stalls that they have, and I was doing this military workout. You know, I got my app on my phone, and I'm just jamming over there. And this gentleman pulls up in the stall right next to me, and I thought I was in his space. You know, I thought I was in his actual parking space. And so I went over to him. I was huffing and puffing in my workout. I went over to him and asked him, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Am I in your space right here?" He goes, "Oh, no." And so he asked me, "Why are you, I haven't seen you in the building. Well, how come you're here?" My answer was, "I'm here visiting my mom." You know what I mean? Like, I forgot that kind of my mom passed, right? In December, I'm in brain fog. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that," you know? And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. To be honest, sir, I'm actually here because my mom passed, and I'm here to do her funeral like that." And he said, "Oh, I just lost somebody too." And I said, "Oh, who did you lose, sir?" And he goes, "Oh, I lost my wife just the other week, you know." And I said, How long have you been married?" He said, "I've been married 63 years.
Wow.
And I immediately started crying when I heard that. I thought, man, I love my wife. We've been married 30 years. March will be 31 years for me and my wife. We're going to be celebrating our 31st anniversary. And I was like, also, look at Linda. Linda's kissing her husband right there. I caught her in the act. Amen, John. Happy birthday, bro. I thought when he shared that, right, I immediately thought, wow, what would I feel like if I lost my wife? And I immediately started crying, right? And I made him feel so uncomfortable, right? And so in that uncomfortability, I asked, "Can I give you a hug, sir?" And he said, "Absolutely." He started bawling and crying. And here are two senior citizens in a parking lot looking at each other. I never met this guy in my life. Never met him in my life. I said, "What floor do you?" "I'm on 6C. What floor do you live on?" He goes, "I live on 14E. He goes, "To be honest, we hug each other for a good 30 seconds. You know how long 30 seconds is, guys?
It's like 30 seconds.
30 seconds. If I was hugging a brother for 30 seconds, you'd all be worried about that for a minute, right? And be like, wow, that's an eternity. That feels like an eternity. We were hugging for at least 30 seconds, man. And he was crying on my shoulder, right? And the thing he told me was, he goes, "Thank you. I haven't cried since my wife died." And I cried here more. I was involved. I was like, "I'm so sorry, sir." Because what do you do? To be quite honest, I'm a minister and I'm a grief recovery specialist. And he was like, "Wow, I don't usually cry." I go, "Me too, but I just felt moved by what I just heard you share." And he goes, "To be quite honest, all my family," in fact, he just caught me at a time when all my family left because we just buried my wife. And so it's kind of been a downtime for me, and it's been silent, and I've been having a hard time. I go, "Well, I'll be back, sir. I'm going to have to come back, so maybe we can connect when I come back," like that. And so he was like, "Sure." So, I mean, that was my experience. But what I think I got more out of it than he did. But I felt compassion that day to do something, right? I'm not lifting myself up, man. I thought I was in the guy's stall, right? And it ended up turning out like this. And so consider, you know, as you go about your week, as you go about meeting people, as you go about your work, look around you. Be like Jesus. Be aware, be present, be curious, be kind. What did we learn today? We talked about Jesus and the crowds and how he was with the crowds. One of the unique things about him is when he's tired, he could reach for compassion, and it made all the difference in people's lives. Point, Jesus felt enough to act. Compassion is about feeling enough to act. Our 4 practicals: be aware, be present, be curious, be kind. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve." You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love.